On the 22nd of August 2014, an animated Netflix original launched about a famous actor, BoJack Horseman, has recently just completed its 6th and final season to conclude one of the best TV shows I have ever seen. To be fair, at first glance the show does seem like a Family Guy rip-off, with some cheap animation, but soon you'll be surprised on how well the show then later developed into depicting the struggles of mental illness, how to face your consequences, how to be happy, drug abuse, and even how to deal with loss. Even though the show sounds quite philosophical and pretty dark, it is also combined with clever, subtle humour, relatable characters matched with their brilliant character arcs for each and every one of them, and has beautiful, yet sometimes even traumatising, storytelling structure. For this video, I will be covering the first 3 seasons of BoJack Horseman, and then I will later on upload a video discussing my review regarding the last 3 seasons of the show. Today, I will go over seasons 1 to 3 and talk about what happened in them, what my thoughts were towards that season, what it did well, and how it could have or should have improved on going towards the next seasons. So, without further ado, let's start at the beginning, with season 1. The first season of any TV show is very important. You need to establish a main character, the settings, and the different elements in this new universe you've created. We have 5 main characters throughout the whole show: BoJack Horseman, Princess Carolyn, Todd, Mr. Peanut Butter, and Diane. BoJack is your typical pretentious, stubborn jerk. Princess Carolyn is your typical agent. Todd is a stoner who has lived with BoJack for 5 years after crashing at one of his parties. Mr. Peanut Butter is a famous actor, just like BoJack, except has a more upbeat, vibrant, positive attitude to life compared to BoJack. And Diane is BoJack's writer for his upcoming memoir and is also going out with Mr. Peanut Butter. Most of these characters I felt are quite relatable as they explore real struggles we have in our everyday lives. Whether you're a celebrity or just a person barely getting through life, the show hits really hard at its viewers at some moments. As these characters develop, so does the show, as the characters, in my opinion, are the strongest aspect of this show. We get to see a glimpse of how tragic and cruel BoJack's childhood was, to get an understanding of how he's been such a stubborn arsehole, as his parents, Beatrice and Butterscotch Horseman, didn't show any love or affection or any compassion towards BoJack when he was growing up. Even though we don't get to see BoJack being as cruel as his parents were, we can still see some parts of his parents' bitterness in him, as it has affected him and the people around him. We get to see the backstory of Diane and her broken family as well. Todd is sometimes a voice of reasoning for BoJack and is just a simple, charming character. Princess Carolyn has an episode which gets an insight to her life and how lonely she feels with no partner in her life. And Mr. Peanut Butter doesn't have many struggles to face, as he's always had a quite happy outlook on life, but he definitely does have struggles to conquer for later seasons. Like I said, I feel like we can relate with these characters, which makes us feel more invested into the show and their lives. I feel like the show did an okay job for the most part to start the show off. See, the first season is all about BoJack Horseman making a memoir with his ghostwriter Diane. I don't feel like there's anything wrong making the plot of your first season quite basic to start off with, but I'll be honest, I didn't really enjoy the first season that much at all compared to the other ones. Most of the time it came across as boring and a bit slow at times. Kinda like Family Guy nowadays, really. Especially in the first few episodes. It did have some good humour here and there, but they used a couple of cutaway gags which, as I'll say again, after watching Family Guy for God knows how long, it just had the same effect as it did on Family Guy. It felt dragged out, and most of the time It kept breaking up the pacing of the episode and the plot. However, as the season progressed, the show started to become its own cartoon. I especially noticed this in episode 8 of the show, The Telescope. This episode is about BoJack going to visit his longtime friend and co-worker on his famous show horsing around, Herb Kazaz, who's sadly dying of cancer. BoJack is visiting him to make amends with him for getting Herb fired on the show for coming out as gay, which, if you didn't know, back in those days, that was still a thing people looked down upon you for. And Diane is there to get more info on their friendship for his memoir. I get a better understanding with their relationship between them. But things don't go exactly to plan. After their visit with Herb, it's clear that Herb is still pissed off with BoJack for betraying him. So BoJack feels that he needs to go and apologise to Herb before he regrets it. But BoJack, even though he does apologise, Herb doesn't care, and he has this to say to BoJack.
Okay, I don't forgive you.
Herb, I said I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I do not forgive you.
You have to live with the shitty thing you did for the rest of your life. You have to know that it's never, ever going to be okay. But what I needed then was a friend. And you abandoned me. And I will never forgive you for that. Now get the fuck out of my house.
Sometimes, not everyone can forgive you for your actions. You may feel like it's unfair, but you might not be able to change their opinion on it, as everyone's different, but it is realistic, as unlike Family Guy and The Simpsons, this show teaches us how to face our consequences, and that we can't always make up for our past mistakes. This show continues this, and it's quite refreshing, as I've never seen a cartoon to do this before, and for it to be this successful. Towards the end of the season, the last 2 episodes, BoJack's memoir is finally finished, but after reading over it, BoJack realises that he's an arsehole, as Diane's book shows all of his flaws in his book, and falls out with Diane over it, as he doesn't want the book to be released, as he doesn't want the public to hate him. So he begins to write, well, tries to write a new memoir without everything distracting him. He decides to do drugs with Todd and his famous friend or celebrity, Sarah Lynn, to help them focus more on writing. He then experiences a drug trip, showing his regrets on the life he's chosen. He feels like it's too late to change who he is and the life that he wants, as shown with the sweet yet sad hallucination he has on if he decided to live with Charlotte, an old-time friend from LA. He then wakes up hungover outside a bar to go to a ghostwriter convention as soon as he wakes up, which Diane is at.
Yeah, I got
And once he turns up,
Thank God.
he asks her this question.
My question is for Diane. I guess my question is, do you think it's too late for me?
What?
I mean, am I just doomed to be the person that I am? The person in that book? I'm a good person, and I need you to tell me that I'm good. Diane, tell me, please, Diane, tell me that I'm good.
It's a hard-hitting question, as BoJack is desperate to find anything positive about himself and wants to be a good person. But Diane doesn't know how to respond, and we don't get to hear what her answer is to this question until the last episode of the season. The last episode starts with BoJack getting an award for his memoir, and he also gets casted to play in a new movie called Secretariat, based on the famous runner in the 70s that BoJack looked up to, who tragically killed himself after getting banned for life from racing. BoJack goes to Diane's wedding party at Mr. Peanut Butter's house, and goes up to the rooftop to talk to Diane for the last 5 minutes of the season.
Do you remember the last time I saw you and you asked me if I thought you were a good person deep down?
Do I remember that? Yeah, vaguely.
You really caught me off guard. I didn't know what to say.
Well, do you think I'm a good person? Deep down?
That's the thing. I don't think I believe in deep down. I kind of think all you are is just the things that you do.
Well, that's depressing. For what it's worth, I think your writing does make a difference.
This ending felt very strong, as it's just full of honesty and talks about change and how we are seen as people to others. Season 1 definitely had its flaws, but it did start to become self-aware, and it felt like the beginning of a brilliant show. So I was looking forward to the future for this show, as I knew it could offer more to its viewers. Season 2 of BoJack Horseman felt like a massive improvement on the show. The humour continues to impress, the characters feel more human and down to earth, and the plots and structures just keep on getting better each episode, in my opinion. This is when I really began to get invested into the show, as I was excited to see how it would continue it, and it didn't fail to impress, let me tell you that. This season focuses on BoJack making a movie, starring as his childhood hero, Secretariat, but this season he decides to change his attitude and his lifestyle, which backfires for some of the scenes of the movie he has to shoot when Secretariat is at his lowest. BoJack decides to live his lifestyle and continues it to try and escape his past self that he saw in his memoir Diane wrote about him. He then meets an old lady called Wanda, who has been in a coma for 30 years. Just don't ask why. Don't ask how. I don't even know myself. So she doesn't know BoJack for his famous career, so she treats him like a normal person, as she discovers all the new things that she's missed out on for the last 30 years. I think Wanda was an alright character of the show. I thought she was quite interesting for her to catch up with the new generation's technology, and that she didn't really care about BoJack's fame, as she didn't recognise him for that and actually just liked who he was. But they do eventually break up, as she does realise who the true BoJack Horseman actually is.
Well then, what are you doing here?
What happened, BoJack?
Same thing that always happens. You didn't know me. Then you fell in love with me. And now you know me.
You know, it's funny. When you look at someone through rose-colored glasses, all the red flags just look like flags.
The show does go into depth more about our other main characters more, which is good, as they did need to explore their own character arcs a lot more to me, and not just have the spotlight on BoJack all the time. I'll be honest, BoJack is my favourite character of the show. It doesn't mean I like him, but I have a lot of respect for him, as he does want to change as we get more into the show, and I do sympathise with him. But we'll talk about that later. Diane is working on a Secretariat and is beginning to feel creatively flawed now that she's married, which is quite an interesting concept. Mr. Peanut Butter is now forced to find new work on media, so he is now the host of his original game show and struggles to connect with his wife as she travels away to Vietnam to write another memoir. Princess Carolyn realises that she's fed up with working at her own agency and grows closer to a new character called Rudiger, who wants to start his own agency with Princess Carolyn. The only character that doesn't add too much to Season 2 is Todd. The only memorable thing that he does was move out of BoJack's house to pursue a career of improv comedy. But near the end of the season, BoJack comes back to Todd, just to let him know how much he means to him as his best friend. So Todd decides to come back home with him. I love how the show began to show the different aspects of our characters' lives, and their thoughts and feelings. For example, there was a moment where BoJack gets a call from his mother in the first episode, who tells him he was born broken, and no matter what, he'll remain that way for the rest of his life.
Do you need more blood?
I don't need blood. I read your book, BoJack.
Oh.
It takes a real narcissist to think anyone wants to buy a book about him. You know how I feel about Anne Frank.
That was a diary.
I read the parts about me, the things I said to you. You must think I'm a real monster.
Mom.
I don't want to fight you, BoJack. I'm sorry.
What?
It's not just you, you know. Your father and I, well, you come by it honestly, the ugliness inside you. You were born broken. That's your birthright. You're BoJack Horseman. There's no cure for that.
This thing kills his positive lifestyle he was going for and feels that he can't change, and he's finally able to complete the scenes where Secretariat is at his lowest. It's all about facing reality and that you can't pretend to be someone you're not, no matter how hard you try to be a different person, because you can't escape being yourself. I gotta say, I couldn't think of many flaws for this season, or any in that matter, but I don't know if I would call this season perfect compared to the other ones. The only thing I would have liked more was a bit more development from Todd, but that might just be a me thing, but let me know what you guys think. This season does continue its use of dark humour and themes, especially in episode 6, Higher Love, which is about Mr. Peanut Butter trying to find a new job. So he goes to his agent who autoerotically asphyxiates himself, which they actually make it comedical, which I would have never expected them to have done. But the sad thing is that they do this a second time, but this time it's not funny or comedical. It was very sudden and shocking. On Secretariat, BoJack's co-star Corduroy is actually found dead by the end of the episode when BoJack wants to give him back his tools for autoerotic asphyxiation. As after Mr. Peanut Butter's agent dies from this, Corduroy keeps pondering whether he also wants to do this, as he used to really be into it. Jesus, that sounds really wrong. But BoJack finds him dead, and then the episode ends. Jesus. Another key episode that I liked is episode 8, Let's Find Out, where Mr. Peanut Butter is starting to launch his new game show, and Wanda convinces BoJack to play his part in it. This leads to some great emotional scenery, as BoJack starts to talk about Mr. Peanut Butter's wife Diane wanting to leave him to get some time away from him.
You're a millionaire movie star with a girlfriend who loves you, acting in your dream movie. What more do you want? What else could the universe possibly owe you?
I want to feel good about myself. The way you do. And I don't know how. I don't know if I can.
Had to forgive BoJack live on the air.
What I find weird is that no matter what, Mr. Peanut Butter, after this, wants to still be BoJack's friend, which is quite interesting. Even for his good nature, I wouldn't expect him to forgive him for kissing Diane. Towards the end of each season, you'll start to notice a trend of the infamous 11th episode, as they are usually considered by many to be the darkest and sometimes the best episodes of each season, which they definitely are. Season 2's 11th episode is called Escape from LA, where BoJack decides to pay his old-time friend Charlotte a visit in New Mexico, where he feels that he can settle for a life out there, as Charlotte offers him to stay for as long as he wants with her husband Kyle and her kids Trip and Penny. He spends around 2 months there with their family, and he decides to go to prom with her daughter and her friends Pete and his girlfriend Maddie. I don't know where this would happen, but we'll just go along with it. After the prom, Maddie gets alcohol poisoning and BoJack drops her and Pete off at an hospital. She gets alcohol poisoning from BoJack's vodka, for a matter of fact. This does show that BoJack isn't willing to take responsibility still for his actions, which is pretty shitty for him to do. Penny then builds a bond with BoJack, and out of nowhere she kisses him at his house, at the house, and she offers to have sex with him. And as you'd expect, BoJack says no, because she's 16. Even though it's the legal age of consent there, which she states, it still sounds very wrong. BoJack then goes to talk to Charlotte, and talks to her about how he just wants to stop making bad decisions and doesn't know how.
Guy goes into the doctor's office, says, "Doctor, it hurts when I do this." You know what the doctor says?
Don't do that.
Then BoJack kisses
That's actually
Charlotte and
good advice.
messes up
And you
his
know what else?
relationship
The doctor in
and
that
his
story
life in New
was a
Mexico he
woman.
had with her.
What?
Oh, BoJack, I think you got the wrong idea.
Let's go. Let's get out of here right now.
No, BoJack.
You and me. This is real.
I have worked very hard to build this life for myself. I am happy here. And you just roll into my life like a hurricane. Why? Because we knew each other for 5 minutes 30 years ago? I don't know you.
Please don't make me go back to LA.
I don't care where you go, BoJack, but I can't have you around here. You make me too sad.
You then see that BoJack goes back onto his boat and Penny goes to have sex with him.
And if you ever try to contact me or my family again, I will fucking kill you.
The episode then ends with BoJack returning back to his home in LA to see Diane is still there. For the end of this season, BoJack finds out that the Secretariat movie was finished without him, and that they used special effects for the movie to be finished while he was away for 2 months, last episode. Princess Carolyn decides to start her own agency with Rutabaga. Todd decides to move out of BoJack's house to begin a career of his own, but he does late or eventually come back, which I mentioned. And Diane has stayed at BoJack's house, but then she finally decides to go back to writing, and then she goes back to Mr. Peanut Butter. BoJack's movie's a success, and he goes back to get Todd with him as he feels like he desperately needs him. BoJack then goes back to exercising, and even though he keeps screaming in agony how terrible it is and he wants to die from it, someone goes up to him to give him some good advice to end off the season.
It gets easier.
Huh?
Every day it gets a little easier.
Yeah?
But you gotta do it every day. That's the hard part. But it does get easier.
Okay.
Why on earth do you know that?
In season 3 of Horsing Around, the horse got a
This was a great step in the show's direction to help reach its full potential. It's not almost there, but it was definitely there. Almost, if that makes sense. I love the character arc BoJack goes through this season. He tried to start with a positive lifestyle, but he just went back to the person that he'd always been. He wants to stop making bad mistakes, but he ends up causing more problems for him and the people around him. The plots are a lot stronger in my opinion, and I end up sympathising with the characters a lot more this season, as I felt more emotionally invested. Even though this isn't the best season of the show, it's definitely one of the best seasons amongst other TV shows compared to The Simpsons and Family Guy, and that's saying something, because this show's not even at its full potential yet. And let me tell you, it only gets better from there.
And going to work with him, helping people and making a difference. And I feel like I have a reason to get out of bed.
Season 3 is where I felt the show was at its best when I was watching it, and that it can never peak any higher than this. But as I'll go on to say, boy was I wrong. But that doesn't mean that, again, it wasn't good. It was still an incredible season, and it still felt better than Season 2 in my opinion, as it continued its themes of depression, dealing with loss and drug abuse. And the themes just got stronger and stronger each season. This season was so impactful, and sometimes it just left me speechless, and it's sometimes hard to just describe how I felt for some of the events that happened. But enough of that for the now. Season 3 of BoJack Horseman is about BoJack getting nominated for an Oscar for his performance in his latest film Secretariat, but he doesn't feel like it's deserved, as he doesn't feel like he should get it. All because that he didn't finish the film as the movie studio had to use special effects, as we learned from Season 2. But it does turn out that the movie was a massive hit. However, even though an actor getting an Oscar is very rewarding, BoJack thinks that it still won't make him happy. He doesn't know what will make him happy anymore. Meanwhile, Todd and Mr. Peanut Butter decide to get started with their own company, as Mr. Peanut Butter's game show is ending very soon, and we see more of how much Princess Carolyn is struggling with her own agency. Diane trying to get her own marriage back on track with Mr. Peanut Butter, and Todd gets some more great character development, which I really enjoyed watching to see how this goofy character would grow throughout this season. We also get a good amount of screen time with newly introduced side characters and sometimes old returning ones. I feel like each episode of this season was very captivating, and there was no episodes that I couldn't pick out that I didn't really enjoy. It was an incredible season for this show. A brilliant example for how good this season was is probably the last 3 episodes of the show, which I'll go over them in detail. Starting with episode 10, it's You, which is about the Oscars finally being announced, so BoJack decides to throw a party at his house as he's been nominated for one. We see Diane asking how BoJack feels about this, and she's surprised to see the person that he's becoming with this effect, as BoJack starts to call her out on her insecurities. But then Diane says this to him out of anger.
Your husband bought, or you can think you're better than everyone, but you can't do both.
I don't think I'm better than everyone.
And again, I say, sure.
You know what's gonna happen? You're gonna win that Oscar, and you're gonna go up on that stage and give your little speech, and then you're gonna go home. And you're gonna be so miserable you'll want to kill yourself. And you're gonna have nobody left to stop you.
Diane then leaves the party, and BoJack almost kills himself after crashing his car into the pool outside of his house. We learn that BoJack didn't actually get nominated for an Oscar, and he eventually goes into a dark spiral over this. The next morning, Todd comes home, and BoJack tries to keep up his friendship with Todd. But Todd learns that BoJack slept with his best friend / ex-girlfriend Emily. Todd has finally, quite rightly, had enough of them, and has this to say.
You can't keep doing shitty things and then feel bad about yourself like that makes it okay. You need to be better.
You are all the things that are wrong with you. It's not the alcohol or the drugs or any of the shitty things that happened to you in your career or when you were a kid. It's you.
This is what I was talking about for Todd getting really good character development. He can no longer put up with BoJack treating him like a piece of shit. So he calls him out over it, and that BoJack can't blame his past or his cruel childhood for these, as he still decides to make these mistakes and doesn't show that he truly wants to change yet. Now we get on to yet another infamous 11th episode of the show, and probably the most memorable and heartbreaking one yet, called That's Too Much Man. When BoJack goes on a 2-month bender with his friend Sarah Lynn after 9 months of sobriety. This episode has great structure, as he sometimes cut forward in time due to BoJack's blackouts because he's drunk on this bender, which I think is a great storytelling technique to keep the episode flowing. During this, we see BoJack at an AA meeting as Sarah Lynn needs to get her 9-month chip, where BoJack decides to go on stage to tell them the events of last season's 11th episode with Penny and Charlotte.
So anyone got a better story than that?
Wow.
Didn't think so, bitches. Where's my trophy or chip or whatever?
We will then see in future episodes on how much this has an effect on BoJack and Penny's life going forward for the next seasons. They continue to go on their bender and end up in Ohio, as we see through BoJack's blackouts that he wants to go there to make amends with Penny. As much as he tries to stop this, He does eventually catch up with Penny, and she has a panic attack which scars her, and honestly it's a heartbreaking scene. In BoJack's car, on their way back, Sarah Lynn finds a brand of heroin called BoJack, and they decide to snort it together. We see them eventually at a low budget hotel and find out Sarah Lynn won an Oscar for one of her songs featured in a movie. But then she begins to have a mental breakdown. Cheer her up, BoJack decides to take her to the planetarium with her, and honestly, the scene is very heartbreaking as BoJack reflects on his moment. This moment they are now sharing together, only to find out she's fell asleep for the very last time.
See, Sarah Lynn? We're not doomed. In the great grand scheme of things, we're just tiny specks that will one day be forgotten. So it doesn't matter what we did in the past or how we'll be remembered. The only thing that matters is right now. This moment. This one spectacular moment we are sharing together. Right, Sarah Lynn? Sarah Lynn? Sarah Lynn?
The season finale is definitely one of the most depressing, but yet somehow has one of the most fun storylines in the entire show. As one of the plots is Mr. Peanut Butter and Todd help save the day, as a boat full of 12 tons of pasta is ruining the sea life. So, after Mr. Peanut Butter manages to save the sea life, we transition to BoJack horsing around as he realises he's failed Sarah Lynn and there's nothing he can do about it. BoJack gives this remarkable speech about how he ruins everything in his life, as Diane tries to comfort him on how much the show Horsing Around helped her get through her life as a child.
I don't know how to be, Diane. It doesn't get better and it doesn't get easier. I can't keep lying to myself, saying I'm gonna change. I'm poison. I have nothing to show for the life that I've lived, and I have nobody in my life who's better off for having known me.
Half an hour every week, I had a home, and it helped me survive. BoJack, there are millions of people who are better off for having known you.
BoJack then decides to call one of his co-stars from Horsing Around, Brad, to do a show called Ethan Around. Diane joins a company called Girl Crush. Princess Carolyn decides to be a manager for a company to manage our other clients. And Todd gets $8 million from being a third owner for his company. On Ethan Around, everything seems to be going well in production. But he then goes through an existential crisis after one of the child actors tells him that she wants to grow up to be like him.
Like me?
I want to be famous.
Where are you going?
I don't know.
BoJack deciding to leave his home. We cut to Todd catching up with his best friend Emily. As we see Todd realising he's asexual and he doesn't know how to react. He doesn't know what to do.
Like really fancy. Can I ask you something?
Of course.
What's your deal? I feel like you like me, but you don't like me, but you like me, and I don't know what that is.
I think I might be nothing.
Oh, well, that's okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you so much. Who could that be?
Mr. Peanut Butter is then offered to sign up to be the governor by his ex-girlfriend Katrina.
How would you like to be the governor?
Whoa. Of California?
Yes, of California.
As BoJack is driving down the road near a desert, he finally decides to let go of himself, let go of everything. But he's then stopped to see a herd of horses as he sees just what life can be without all of it, all of the fame, as the herd of horses run past, which then ends the third season. This season shows everything that BoJack Horseman is made of and is all about. Even if you haven't seen this show yet, I highly recommend each and every one of you to go watch BoJack Horseman, as it is truly remarkable. Really is. Well, Hope you guys have enjoyed my review on BoJack Horseman Seasons 1 to 3. If you enjoyed, please feel free to leave a like, subscribe to the channel to help support. I will be uploading my second part to this review on my second channel, which you can check out in the description down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys later.